Pascal Siakam had himself a bounce back game against Memphis yesterday, putting up some big shots in the clutch to get back to about his averages. So, can Pascal Siakam carry this on, and can we expect better from Spicy P for the rest of the stay in the bubble? Let's get into it. Welcome to Amateur Sports, everybody. Jacob Lynn talking about the Toronto Raptors yet again. After their win against the Memphis Grizzlies yesterday, they have locked up the 2 seed in the East, and it is very, very likely that they will be playing against the Brooklyn Nets in the first round of the playoffs. This win was important. It came off the worst performance of the season for the Toronto Raptors, possibly the worst performance in the Nick Nurse era. The Toronto Raptors got dismantled by the Celtics. They came back, and it should have been a comfortable win against the Grizzlies. They made it close, but then in the end, they stretched out the points to a bit of a comfy margin. If you offer me a Raptors win by 9, keeping Memphis under 100 in the game, I would have taken it. The defense was on display yet again. I mean, it isn't the most talented Memphis Grizzlies team, I know that, but the Raptors needed to bounce back. They had a rocky first quarter, and I kind of started fearing the worst after that Celtics game, and then we get to the first quarter against the Grizzlies. The guys can't hit a 3 still, but then we turn it around. We made it close, yeah, but Pascal Siakam hit some big shots down the stretch to ensure a comfy Raptors victory. I mean, 2 humongous threes right near the end of the game to get himself up to 26 points. In the other games in the bubble, Pascal Siakam had 15 points, 22 points, 15 again, then 11 versus Boston, and now 26 points. And a lot of people were kind of freaking out about Pascal Siakam's game in the bubble, how he wasn't up to standard. I mean, look, playing in the bubble is basically coming off of an entire offseason of basketball. They were gone for 3 months. It's possible that he didn't have enough touches in the quarantine period. Maybe he didn't have access to those touches, because it's hard when everything's locked down to be able to get your touches in if you don't have a court in your house like some of the richer guys in the NBA. And Pascal Siakam, still on a rookie deal as of right now, maybe didn't have the access to prepare. So he's just getting back into the flow of things. And yesterday was a testament to that. And everybody's really overreacting to the loss against Boston. Yes, the Raptors were very poor. It was their worst game of the season, no doubt. But it was one game. They had one bad game. They bounced back and win today. In the bubble, they are 4-1. You would easily take that. I would have easily taken a 4-1 start to life in the bubble, given the fact that they have the toughest and most difficult schedule going into the bubble. Pascal Siakam started the game off, rocky like the rest of the team. He wasn't hitting his threes, but eventually finished the game with a 56 field goal percentage, 44 3-point field goal percentage at 4 for 9, and had 26 points. That's a big bounce back game for Siakam. People were really worried. I called it on my Twitter before the game that Siakam was going to have that bounce back game. And, he had it. He definitely had it. 20 points going into the last little stretch of the game, but hit 2 dagger threes to eliminate any possibility of a Grizzlies comeback. Also, had that pretty filthy block on Ja Morant. I was pretty happy with what I saw from Pascal Siakam. Still was a little bit sloppy on the ball. He had 4 turnovers. That needs to be cleaned up. I mean, the Raptors as a whole had a lot of turnovers that a better team would punish. I mean, Kyle Lowry had 9 turnovers on his own. I think the whole team had 22 in the game. It was pretty ugly from the turnover standpoint, but the offense was much better. The defense was great. I mean, keeping another team under 100 points, that was much better. And the fact that we got Pascal going, again, that's big. I don't think we're really going to be using a lot of these guys for the rest of the bubble life. I mean, in the regular season part of it, because we've already locked up the 2 seed. I think maybe give Pascal a bit more minutes to get, his rhythm still going. Don't lose its flow, because clearly, when he's off it, he really struggles. He tries to force possessions, and that's where he really struggles. You saw it against Boston when things just weren't happening. He was forcing down the threes, forcing stuff in the paint. He was missing some easy looks, but he kept on forcing those chances. That's where it really starts going downhill. You need to really address it. Just sit back, wait for the opportunities to come to you. Trust that those opportunities are going to come to you because of the way the Raptors move the ball, and go at the game in those ways. Because when you start forcing things, that's when it gets ugly, and it did against the Celtics. Like nobody was hitting their shots. There was no redeeming factor for that game on offense. So patiently wait for your opportunities. When you get the good looks, you got to hit it. I think the guys are going to start to recognize this. They're starting to be a lot better. Pascal Siakam's going to be a lot better. This was a big game for Siakam. The ability to get himself back in rhythm, to trust his own abilities. We need to keep it flowing. We have a back-to-back. We're playing today against the Bucks at 6:30. Back in the flow of things for the Raptors because they're going to need it today. They're definitely going to need it. The Bucks are a good team, but I don't really want to have any predictions for the game today because the Bucks have locked up the 1 seed. The Raptors have locked up the 2 seed. So do guys really need to be stressing their bodies in a back-to-back game for the Raptors? Maybe not. I mean, the Bucks lost the Brooklyn Nets, but none of their stars were out there for the fourth quarter against the Nets. Sure, it looks bad that the Brooklyn Nets beat the Bucks, but the Bucks didn't play their guys. And I don't know if they're going to play their guys today. Maybe it's going to be a bit of a bragging rights thing or just momentum for the playoffs if the Raptors do play the Bucks. So maybe they do want to go out full strength today, both teams, and see who can come out on top. Maybe the Bucks are going to have those afterthoughts of the last season in the postseason where we took them down in 6 after winning games 3 through 6, 4 games in a row. So maybe some things are going to be hanging in there that the Bucks want to address and want to go at the Raptors. But it doesn't need to happen. Both teams can start to kind of play some rotational guys. I mean, maybe we'll see more minutes from Malcolm Miller and Stanley Johnson today. I hope we don't, but we still might see that. But I still hope that we get the proper starters out to get their reps in. I don't see any reason why we would not. I think there's just going to be a bit more focus on rotating players, making sure everybody's getting involved and not stressing anybody's body too much because we've locked up the 2 seed. We're out there for the important part, which is the playoffs. I'm very happy that it is Brooklyn who seem to have locked up that 7th spot because I think they are an inferior team to the Orlando Magic. I know we always clean up the Orlando Magic, but Brooklyn is an inferior team to that Orlando Magic team. I talked about the Brooklyn Nets, how they match up with the Toronto Raptors in the playoffs in another video if you want to go check that out. Spoiler alert. It doesn't go past 5 games. I think a gentleman's sweep is on the cards. Brooklyn are going to have one night maybe where they're hitting all their threes because they've turned into a G League version of the Houston Rockets in the bubble. They don't really have a lot of skilled players other than Karis LeVert involved. So they're resorting to living and dying by the 3. They are shooting a lot of threes. And against the Milwaukee Bucks bench basically, they were hitting those threes with a decent degree of efficiency. So because of that, they were able to take down those Bucks in a wild game of scoring. A game the Bucks would never allow that many points if they had their starters out there. But Brooklyn take advantage. I'm happy because the Raptors, I think, get an easier opponent in the first round. Hopefully it doesn't go past 5 games. We can focus on playing the Boston Celtics in the second round of the playoffs because we need to bounce back against the Celtics. That was abysmal the other night against the Celtics. We bounced back there. I still think that the Raptors can take down the Celtics in 6 or 7 games, but I acknowledge that the Celtics are a talented team and can also turn it the other way. I just think that the Raptors are the favorites in that series based on what I've seen throughout the entire season. People are hyping up Jason Tatum beyond belief, and Jason Tatum, it's actually strikingly crazy how similar Jason Tatum and Pascal Siakam stats are. So, if the Celtics have a killer in Jason Tatum to finish games, and we saw him hit a big shot yesterday against the Orlando Magic, if the Celtics have a killer in Jason Tatum to finish games, then the Raptors have one in Pascal Siakam because he's got the exact same stat line as Tatum. And we saw yesterday Siakam hit some daggers to end off the game against the Memphis Grizzlies. So overall, I think, we can't get too excited about a win and get too disappointed about a loss. It's basketball. Wins and losses happen. Sometimes you have a bad game and lose by a lot, like against the Celtics. But that doesn't mean that the season is done and everything explodes and the Raptors have no chance anymore. It's one game. Just take every game as it is. We bounce back. We had a bad loss. We bounce back. Siakam had a bad game. The Raptors bounced back. I mean, it was all very bad against Boston. The highest scoring player in the Toronto Raptors with Fred VanVleet was 13 points. That is the lowest a leading scorer on the Raptors has had in a game since 2012. Believe it or not. The Raptors bounce back. Siakam puts up 26. Will carry on this momentum into the playoffs against Brooklyn. I'm happy it is an easier series. I think the Raptors can really get some confidence out of that series and go strong into Boston in the second round. But the big takeaway from this, Spicy P is back. The Raptors are back. let's keep marching into the playoffs. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, a lot of new subscribers on the channel recently. I appreciate every single one of you and everyone who's been around. I know I really recognize those people who are sticking around with me. I see you in the comments. I appreciate everybody. But thanks so much for watching. Please like the video if you like and subscribe to Amateur Hour Sports for more content just like this. 4 videos a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. We are in the full swing of Raptors and NBA action. We have locked up the 2 seed as we get set for the playoffs. Join the Amateur Hour Sports movement to join me along the ride. But thank you so much for watching. At the end of the day, I believe I say, and if you disagree, that is okay. We will see you again next time.